Never before in history has a people been swept away with such terrible swiftness, or appalled into utter and unwhispering silence forever and forever, as were the California Indians. Stephen Powers, 1872.
The Indians lost the overwhelming area of their lands. With these, their main habitual subsistence, and with the going of this, they lost their way of life, their own culture. All this was taken from them generally without compensation, redress, help, or any but mere pittances of opportunities for readjustment and a new way of life. Alfred Kroeber, 1954.
We're peaceful people. We have never warred with nobody. So when they came to California and they, let's say in Lake County at Bloody Island, our people came out there and says, our old people came out and says, welcome, with their arms open, and they were shot.
Why didn't the Indians get more? Why weren't they treated better? And, why can't any of this stuff be fixed now? Are sort of questions that people are used to hearing and kind of, I think, way too used to ignoring, too.
I'm not a stranger. I'm not a foreigner from this land. You are.
In an effort to sustain the circle of knowledge, California Indians spoke candidly about the environment, racism, what it means to be an Indian person in the 21st century, and their hopes for future generations. These are their voices.
I have 4 children, and I think about how much I love my babies and their face and the smell of them in the morning and their personalities, that one day somebody came and killed my babies just because they were Indian. That happened here, to our people.
They suffered and suffered and suffered, and we're still here. So it makes me feel proud of my ancestors for just surviving through it and helping me be here.
I think it's really important to know all of that there's a past, and that there was a richness, there was a sadness, and that same thing is happening right now to people.
And growing up Indian wasn't a lot of fun, a lot of stereotyping and a lot of not very many natives that were recognized, so it was a little bit difficult.
My grandma really never talked about her experience at the boarding school. We kind of had an idea of what happened there, about the abuse and things, but she wasn't the only one. There were several people who suffered from that.
They beat the language out of our ancestors when they were going to boarding schools. And now the white men want to teach us our own language that they didn't want us to speak.
Well, if you look white enough to pass, why don't you? Why do you want to be Indian? Why do you want to be any of these things? Like as if there's a choice, as if I can just go and dishonor my entire family by lying and saying, oh yeah, I'm white. No, my grandpa, devoted every last minute of the end of his life to trying to pass on everything he could from our family. Who am I to disrespect that? And when people ask that of me, it's just ridiculous, but it's so that they're more comfortable, because people have this huge discomfort with anything that doesn't look like a stereotype. So if you don't look like Pocahontas, they're really uncomfortable because that's their version of an Indian.
I think that they're also confused about what being Indian is. They have the idea that if, you don't live on a reservation in a government house and you don't participate in your dances, that, you're not Native. And that, in fact, isn't true. Nobody dictates who you are. You know who you are because it comes from, here.
There are a lot of hard, ugly issues you got to face when you're talking about healing. And you got to be able to admit, where things gone wrong in order to fix it, if you're going to fix it.
I just see, so many issues going on in my community with people trying to identify and be better than one another. And it's really sad because when I look at it, the only people who are hurting us are ourselves. We've become the oppressors of our own people. And it's very, very unfortunate.
we can't just stay stuck in a negative place. I think we have to strive and know in ourselves that we're more than just sadness.
And there's got to be a way to somehow come together to, okay, what do we need to do to make it work? Tradition, back to tradition. Tradition's not working. What do we need to do to focus these young adults that life is precious, it's valuable. You got a gift in you. You just got to pull it out and go get it. And it's unfortunate that the suicide rate is very high, that the kids just have nothing and they figured that's all they got.
Suicide in Indian country, it's the leading cause of death between the ages of 10 and 32 years old, and nothing's being done. Nobody talks about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. The old way is pushed under the carpet. If you don't talk about it, it'll go away. Well, we've seen that doesn't work. We're still going through the same things, this vicious cycle, one generation after another. And so the time has come to where we have to bring it out, put it on the table.
It's hard to be, a youth coming up like nowadays in this day and age, because the expectations have gone up. Like, a lot of people expect so much out of the kids these days, and no one wants to listen to what these kids have to say. No kid wants to be separated from who they are.
We don't have any group homes for our children, for the Native kids. I mean, how many kids are doing academically well, but they're not doing good at home? So, maybe it'd be nice if we had a group home or something where we can place these children to get them out of that environment, so that we can allow them to become, to grow as an individual, move on, get an education. But, we don't have that. It's very tough. It's very, very tough.
Foster parents do not respect the Indian culture, and most will not let the child practice their culture in their home. They make them adapt to what they believe.
We live on the reservations, and the reservations really isn't the best place for anyone to live.
I spent over 2 years in juvenile hall, just sitting in there, and they didn't have nowhere else to put me, so they put me in a rehab. I didn't have a drug problem. I didn't have any problem. The only thing wrong with me was I was violent, and I liked to fight. So they put me in like 4 or 5 rehabs, and I didn't do drugs. I didn't do anything. And like by the time I got out of all the rehabs and everything, I started doing drugs.
When I was like around 8 or 9 years old, picking fruit picking walnuts. And I said, Auntie, she says, yeah, boy. I said, why do our people, and this is that Big Valley Rancheria, lay around in their house smelling of wine and stinking of piss? So, oh, Sonny, she says, our people are sick. So I said, Auntie, what are our people sick from? She says, oh, Sonny, our people are sick from what they call the white man's disease.
By the time I left the reservation, it was 80% poverty, 80% unemployment, high level of drug use, alcohol use, molestation, rapes, disproportionately high rate of people who are in prison.
I know that my reservation itself is a haven, for drugs and alcoholism and, violence. And that's not the way that it should be, So I think that there's still a lot of things that need to be worked on.
And that's why we want to try to teach our kids, that there are other things out there that are better in life than just drinking and drugging, And even though I did it, it doesn't mean that they have to. They can choose other things to do.
It's got to be a better lifestyle for all of us. And I believe that by teaching and growing within your family, and know that the positive outlook is good.
I think what kids need is they got to find that one thing about their heritage, the one thing they really like and love, and then they can build off of that and move on to bigger and more things, and they'll learn more about other things, and then they can do what I'm doing right now, which is branch out and try to show have someone else learn from experiences that I've had, whether good or bad. It's either way, it's a learning process, I think, and I'm actually really proud to sit here and give this.
Traditionally, we wouldn't document things that we've done in the past because we didn't want somebody to steal that and utilize it. Now, we're all saying, if we don't document it, our children are never going to know anymore. So we need to document that, and everybody can come out and tell their stories now, not afraid to tell their stories, what really happened to them in their lifetime. And so that now that we share those stories, the young people could think of it and say, oh, now I know what not to do, what they've taught me in this world what not to do. And people have denied, and there's still a lot of people have denied the traditional ways and culture ways, and now they're realizing that at the end, when they're ready to leave this world and go to the spirit world, they want their culture with them again.
We want to leave something for our people, to let them know that, we were here, we're part of history, and to let them know, where we're coming from, where we're going. We're giving this as a gift for them.
Yeah, I didn't get interested in my heritage until I ended up playing sticks in a stick tournament. And that was purely unexpected even for me, because it's one of my friends just come over, hey, come down to practice. All right, so I went, and then I loved it. And that's when I started, fully getting into my heritage, getting into my Indian lifestyle, and really accepting it.
We stop ourselves from a lot of different things because we're not open. And by doing that, we don't allow ourselves to be who we are. We don't allow ourselves to grow and enjoy what we have. We go through not seeing what we have. We have a lot to be thankful for.
In order for anything to get better, I think that there has to be drastic changes. And I don't think that, at least in my community, that people are ready for that. Change is a scary thing. They've become, in a sense, conformed to what they know, and so by us trying to bring change, it scares them.
Tradition can be changed without ruining the culture, but it needs to be looked at to make it easier for the kids. Tradition is education. Tradition is health. Tradition is wellness. It's all one. And that's what I've learned when I talk to people, and I'm getting, stories of what's going on. So maybe tradition needs to change.
It's almost like doing a basket or a painting, that you could have the greatest of intentions at the beginning, but once it starts, there is a reality that sets in that you really have to go with the flow, and you have to be creative. And what being creative is looking at what you see, that you go with it.
Well, there are problems. There certainly are problems, but there are solutions too, or at least I think we should try to find some kinds of solutions.
We have so much vast technology going on in this country, in our land, that not to forget that the Native people and we are protectors of Mother Earth. And if we don't treat Mother Earth right, that we don't go back to treat Mother Earth the right way, that's how terrible things happen to us and to people in the world, because they forget those basic things of treatment of Mother Earth. Take what from the land that only you need, not anymore.
When I look at the creeks, I recall telling some friends we used to be able to walk and actually see the catfish because that water was so clean. And we'd be able to just bob, catch our fish and go home. But now you can't see the bottom, you can't. And it's overgrown with bamboo, and it bothers me because it's gold to us. Water's what we need.
Us three here right now are the last of our people that had to go down to that creek and get water. Mm-hmm. We don't take this stuff for granted. We don't. And we can't. And that's the way we all live our lives here.
We definitely got to protect our water, our watersheds. We got to protect our land.
It's going to take all of us. We're all stewards of what the Creator has given it to us.
The number of natural resources through plant medicine, fresh water, fishing, gaming, trapping. I mean, you had everything necessary that you needed to either create something that you needed to make, or just go out and get it. So now, once this land was discovered, the last 200 years has been still destroying those natural resources.
The mercury has destroyed the lake. It's destroyed the staple of our community, which is, the tules, the catfish that we ate, the ducks, the mud hens. I mean, everything. That lake was the staple of the Pomo people, and yet it's destroyed and nothing's being done. I mean, there's several tribes around that lake, and once again, why aren't we banding together, to go to the government and say, look, this is what you did. But as I said, there's lack of communication. Nobody cares. Some tribes have casinos, some don't. It's all about what they could get right now. They don't look for the future or care about the next generation. It's who's going to benefit here today.
We need to exercise as a community our sustainability and looking at our natural resources, and Chico to be a steward to those natural resources, native and non-native.
It's exciting to think about a future, and there were great problems in the past, and they're great problems right now. But I think we have what it takes to try to solve those things.
Native people are and have been for some time catching on that education, that knowledge is power. And in order to get things done in the world that we live in currently, it takes education. I would encourage those to learn how to make the bows and the clacker sticks and baskets, and you don't find a lot of that in books. And so the elders are the source of tremendous information, and we have found that the elders go home with a full heart if they've been asked to go out and gather things with you, or to show you what to do or what not to do, and when to do it and when not to do it. So always bring the elders into the circle. Never shut them out of the circle.
The elders recognize that if when they're crossed and they've not passed on their wisdom and their knowledge, we've lost who we are. I believe that that's what continues to spur my father on, is to give him, to recognize that the younger generations they're very much like the sponge, and they just want to absorb and to carry that on.
It's very important to us that our kids learn their heritage, because it's important for them to know who they are so they can go forward with their life, and they need to know what's important, what important Native values are, and be around a lot of Native people who share the same thoughts, beliefs, spirituality.
I have a lot of respect for my father. He's taught me pretty much how to be a virtuous person to everyone.
We know how to respect who we are, know how to respect our family members, and know how to respect our community.
I would say to our young men, remember that, if it wasn't for our mothers and our grandmothers, that we would not be here. We have to honor them, give them praise, respect them for who they truly are.
I just want the kids to realize that they're individuals, and that they need to be proud of who they are and know that they can do whatever they choose to do. Just have a dream, find a mentor, go get it, and be successful.
What we really want for our kids is for them to be able to live in a world where they can celebrate everything that they are and not have to be afraid or feel that they have to pass for one thing or another.
I want to leave a good legacy. I want to be 60-something years old, look back and be like, I'm not even done with my legacy, and look what I've done. Look at the differences I've made. Look at the lives I've changed.
It's also okay to be strong enough to change a lifestyle that you've seen in the past from your parents or parents' parents. That life is a cycle. I always say it's a cycle of life. It's what you teach, it's what you learn, is what you're going to teach, and what they're going to learn.
Your heritage is your heritage. It's who you are. You can't change it. You're an Indian, you're an Indian. You can't change it. Just accept it, because it's not bad. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with any race at all. It's you just adapt to it and learn.
It's okay. You're just human. Human people make mistakes, but we tell them in a good way. Now you know. And it's not for any of us to judge anybody out there.
We need to be respectful of our ways. We need to preserve what we have. And it's okay just to be an Indian.
Natives are just as brilliant and just as precious as anybody else. We were forgotten for a little bit, for just a little bit, because we will be back.
In Sheesh, many blessings.
Waya our hintons in Mafo Kamitzel. Bless our native people and all of the people today.